since I was first learning about you as Derek X that you've always had that. But the question I have is rap always, even since the tapes that I heard before there was really records, obviously I heard them after there were records, but when I went back and would hear, the Cold Crush or Treacherous or whoever it was, the thing is there's always been that get something new, something different, something distinctive. You're a prime example of that. Why do you think it's changed to where it's accepted, common, normal for people to want to sound like somebody else? Whereas
because that's the way they've made it. Like these different, I guess, companies and the way that these kids think they can get money and do that is like they feel that it's got to sound like this to win. I made around one time, I was like, it's only one Future and it's only one Drake and it's only one Migos. You know what I'm saying? And like, you can't be them. You understand? You can fall into the pocket and try to get into the train line, but you can't exactly be them. And I feel like these kids, man, they think like the way it's promoted on social media and this and that, they got to be it. Like right now, it's a trend of everybody sounding the same. Everybody making these songs. Like I've never seen a time when grown men have succumbed so much that I'm hearing songs like, in my mind, it's like the songs they make now, it's like, I'll kill myself, I'll kill the baby, and I'll kill you. You know what I'm saying? It's like, I've never seen such a time when the backbone has become so like broken down. Like you hear a song like that. I've heard whole albums of dudes begging and crying over women and this and that. And like, it's real strange to me, but that's the times and that's what they think that sells.
yeah, it's the sad evolution, I would say, of our society, really. But fortunately, there's alternatives like Science Life and other things for people to
Exactly.
listen to. Also tied into that, because you keep putting out music, and you obviously, last time I talked to you, the Guys Have Arrived was coming out with the Adolf, and I thought that was a great project. But by continuing to put out music, by doing the wine stuff you've done, by doing other things, how have you found exploring these other creative things has helped you as a businessman, as a person, as a father, as an employee, like all these different things you are?
Well, it's kept me learning. See, in the 5% Nation, the father said, man, like our job is to go out and teach, but you can't teach if you don't know. Knowledge is the foundation. You understand? So you have to do the knowledge of everything. That's the science of life. You understand? Like if we supposed to be God, like the father said, then that means we supposed to master as much as we can. If we don't know something, you're supposed to do the knowledge to it so you can know. And by doing that, I'm still a fan of hip hop. I'm a fan of life. I read constantly. I look at the newspapers, television for what it's worth, and I always want to be knowledgeable as to what's going on. And if I'm knowledgeable as to what's going on, that can fuel me. That can make my rap still relevant because I'm still knowing and progressing about in today's society.
Yeah. And why do you think so many people are so against learning?
Because that's the hard thing. You know what I'm saying? Like, first of all, these kids, they don't read no more. Everything is on this screen. So when it's on this screen, it's basically, it's easier for the screen to dictate what you do. Like like I know kids, they don't read no more. They don't read books and go into deep sciences. And it's the personal interaction is basically at 5% now. You understand? Like when I was coming up, like certain things you had to be face to face with the person, whereas nowadays you don't have to be face to face. Where that's how I think a lot of these kids get into trouble, because when you high and you taking these pills and you get on the screen and you talking about, yo, when I see you, I'm gonna knock you down. It's cool when that's like thousands of miles apart. You beefing with this dude and that dude. Back in days, we didn't do that. Like if you beef with somebody, you had to see this person, and eventually you was gonna run into this person, and you had to knuckle up. That's why I think a lot of these rap dudes and this and that is getting knocked down, because they forget, man. Like a lot of times you gotta interact with somebody, and It's a lot of, don't get it twisted. You know, everybody ain't on that money train that you on, and there's still a lot of wolves out here, and they looking and they watching your moves. So when you get on the screen and you holding a bunch of money and this and that and talking about this, and you got all this jewelry on, and then you be like, y'all niggas ain't nothing, this and that. When somebody see you, they're gonna be like, yo, where that money at, son? Like you was in the video with that. I need to see that now. That's why I think like if we run into a lot of problems.
Yeah. Yeah. That's crazy because to your point, I think the pandemic has exacerbated this, but I think the lack of interaction with people had already been started because of social media, because of the phones and all that. But I think it just went to a different place because of the pandemic.
Oh yeah, the pandemic, it did it. The pandemic made a whole demographic of artists that blew up over the pandemic. But when it came time to actually get out on the road and do shows and to perform, they didn't know how to do that. See, the art of performing is knowing your audience, is knowing your area and where you're at and what's going on. It's easy to make the song at home and it blow up and you ain't never did no shows before. But when you got to get on that stage and that promoter be like, all right, you got 20 minutes and you do that one song you got, how you gonna fill that gap? Do you know anything about where you at? Do you know anything about the places that you're at? Do you know anything about the people? You understand? And that's where a lot of them artists run into trouble, and that's where they flame out.
Very much so. And knowing your audience. One other thing about Babies from Science of Life I liked was the punks jump up to get beat down, how you incorporated some of the lyrics from that into your verse with Babies. So with that, first of all, why did you decide to reference that there?
It just fell into the pocket. You understand? It wasn't no rhyme or reason, you know. Somehow I was writing and that was a thought that came into my mind and it fell into the pocket and I used it.
Okay. And that song Punks Jump Up to Get Beat Down was, the first non-Puba song that people saw with the video and all this other stuff. So when that song was coming out, what did you realize about what Brand Nubian was that maybe you didn't understand before?
I realized that, like, if you want to be viable and still do something in this game, you got to work. You got to, if we wouldn't have came out with Punks Jump Up, just say we did that album without Punks Jump Up, I don't know if we would still be here. That was just something that fell into the place at that particular time. That was, I guess, the karma of the universe that enabled us to make that song, which kept us there, man. Like it's a lot of, it's the karma too, man. Like a lot of times it's what you throw out there is what you get back, man. Like a lot of artists I've seen, they had bad karma and now they're disgruntled with the game. They mad at this and that. A lot of the older artists, I'm like, listen, man, if you're gonna be mad at somebody, blame your mother and father for having you 30 years to 40 years too soon. If you're gonna take it on that level, or you just have to adjust and be with the times. You don't have to. What I always say is, you don't have to adjust to the times. Make the times. You understand? I feel I wanted to do this Science of Life and make the times. You understand? Like sometimes you got to make your place. You got to force your way in. You got to make people listen, and that requires you going home and doing something, doing the knowledge and studying and knowing something. See, with the gods, they always tell us knowledge is the foundation. You can never stop knowing. You can learn until your deathbed.
Yeah, I have a 12-year-old daughter, and I always tell her, no one will ever know anything. It's impossible. So
exactly.
But you got to keep learning. That is one of the main keys to life. All right. Well, anything else you want to discuss before we wrap up?
Just give a listen to the albums, The Science of Life. It's dealing on actual fact. Like I don't I understand that in rap it is certain theatrics, but I would say 85 to 90% of the album is true life. It's things that I've been through, things that I saw, really never word of mouth, things that I personally been involved with.
Yeah, and one other thing with Science of Life that I appreciate about is highlighting some of your frustrations, your shortcomings, your weaknesses, all these things. And again, you've done this throughout your career, but as you continue doing that, how does that affect you? How do you draw, what do you draw or gain from doing that, do you think?
Well, I think that affects me and draws because, you know, in my age demographic, it's a lot of dudes my age, and sometimes they feeling, well, I'm supposed to be maybe a little bit further ahead in life than I am now. And it's like, nah, be like, if you made it this long, you still got opportunity to change. You understand? Like, you can get down on yourself for a little while, but then tomorrow get up and make a change. Tell yourself, like, listen, today I'm gonna make something happen. However I make it happen, I'm gonna make it happen. Like, it ain't over.
That is the key. It's not over till it's over.
It's not over till it's over.
Well, there it is. Well, Sadat X, thanks again for coming through. Always appreciate it, man.
Appreciate you, bro. Peace.